That brings us to another story that right-wing voices are amplifying right now, though this one I'll say involves a tragic case in the UK where the family of a murdered teenager is begging the community to not use their son's death to stoke division across the country. But with that, last night you had the streets filled with protests, outrage, and chaos. Right, and this stems from the December killing of 18-year-old Henry Novak, who told police that he had been stabbed and couldn't breathe. But the police, they responded by handcuffing him and telling him that they didn't believe him. And that's as the person responsible was standing by just watching the whole thing play out. Or with that being 23-year-old Vickrum Digwa, who was just sentenced to life in prison for the killing. But when police initially responded to the crime, Digwa falsely told them that he had been the victim of a hate crime and they treated Novak as the suspect. Right? Newly released body cam footage showing this, it sparked outrage across the country.
My dad's just holding it now.
Oh.
He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up.
Alright.
He's got a mouthful of blood, I don't want him.
I can't breathe. He was on the bin on the other side of this gate.
He's jumped over these fences and stuff like that.
What's your name, mate? Huh? Has anyone been hurt other than him?
Yeah, me. He's grabbed my brother, he's took my turban off, started grabbing my head.
Are you injured?
Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruises.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me. Someone flag these down.
Got this stud.
Right, let's get you out of there, shall we?
I was in bed asleep. Whenever we just find me up there, look, someone's attacked me. I can't breathe.
Grab his other arm. What's happened to you, alright? You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? I don't think you have, mate.
Police then start cuffing him behind his back, and the BBC actually cuts the audio from this part due to its distressing content. But when the audio comes back, we hear the officers say,
Saying he's been stabbed, so
Where
let's
is it
just
you
check
think
him.
you've been stabbed? In the face? Oh no, but we have to check, don't we?
Right. What's your name, mate? At the moment, you are under arrest. That's for assault, so you do not have to say anything, may harm in defence. If you do not mention when questioned, it's up to which you later line of court.
Now with this, you had Hampshire police releasing a statement saying that within 3 minutes of interacting with Novak, they began performing CPR and are, quote, sorry they couldn't save Henry, and that he was handcuffed and arrested as he lost consciousness. But then also adding that there was likely nothing that the officers could have been able to do to save him, as his wounds were deep and internal and he had extensive internal bleeding. And as far as what actually happened, like what led up to Novak's killing, well, Digwa claimed that Novak had intentionally barged into him while they passed each other on a street in Southampton. But you had the sentencing judge saying that that was a lie, claiming the two had an interaction while passing one another, and that Novak perhaps cheekily made a comment asking if Digwa was a bad man after seeing that Digwa had a sheathed dagger. Novak was apparently filming on his phone as he said this, and Digwa told him that he was a bad man and took his phone. After which, the events become less clear, but the judge said that there may have been a physical struggle over the phone, and during that struggle, Digwa's turban may have been knocked or punched off of his head. And then after that, you had Digwa deliberately stabbing Novak in the chest and in the legs. There's also been a debate about the weapon that was used, as Digwa said that he was carrying a religious knife. And while Sikhs, they're legally protected and wearing a small knife, it's known as a kirpan at all times, Digwa was also wearing a second, much larger dagger, and that was the weapon that he used in the killing. And this week, he got sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 21 years. Now, currently, there's an investigation into how the police handled their interactions with Novak. You also have just a lot of people incredibly upset and disturbed by the body cam footage, seeing the officers dismissing Novak as he was dying. You also have the Sikh community strongly condemning the killing, and some even telling BBC that before this murder, Digwa had been banned from a place of worship over his behavior. Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the body cam video harrowing and added that there are serious questions for the police to answer. Novak's family has also condemned the police's action, saying that their son did not die with dignity, but they also emphasize that the family, they don't want his death to be used to create further division, hatred, or tension. And you had them putting out this plea because many right-wing figures in the country have focused on race here, on the fact that Novak was white and Digwa is Sikh. And one of the loudest voices you have right now is MP Nigel Farage saying that this was an example of anti-white discrimination and prejudice. Or you had him comparing Novak saying, I can't breathe, to the murder of George Floyd, and said that UK leaders were more outraged about Floyd than this, and adding,
proof, if ever there was any, that we're living in a two-tier culture in this country where the rights and privileges of white people matter less than those of ethnic minorities. Henry's family have responded to this in just the most extraordinarily dignified way. But I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage. We need a change in culture. Enough of anti-white prejudice. A promotion of the idea that white lives matter just as much as black lives.
You've also had others like Elon Musk posting a bunch of footage, writing, "The West has created an utterly evil state religion where an accusation of racism is the gravest offense that can be committed, even worse than rape or murder. So if police show up at a crime scene and a British boy is bleeding out and an immigrant says the British boy is racist, the cops will cuff the dying British boy." You're also seeing it being used to spread anti-immigration messages with, for example, far-right MP Rupert Lowe writing, "Innocent young men and women put through the most unimaginable pain because our country has failed to do what needs to be done, because children have to be sacrificed to death in order to appease foreign cultures that have no place in our country. And adding, I have had enough of all of it. I'm going to look back in anger. I urge you all to do the same." And last night, you had major protests in Southampton, resulting in 11 officers and 1 police dog getting injured. With that, reportedly starting with a few hundred demonstrators outside of the Southampton Central Police Station, with speakers saying things like,
I heard someone say this isn't about race. This is about race. Yes. The white boy who done nothing was handcuffed. The murderer in possession of a knife who stabbed someone 5 times wasn't even handcuffed.
But then with all that, you had things quickly escalating. 2 people were arrested. Police reportedly had chairs, cans, flares, rocks, and kind of anything nearby thrown at them, with some protesters shouting things like,
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
But then also with this, on the other side, you have leaders across the country condemning not only the protesters, but the right-wing politicians who they believe have encouraged this chaos. Or people pointing to Farage, telling people to respond with rage, Lowe telling them to look back in anger. So with that, you have people like Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood saying misinformation and inflammatory commentary is making a dreadful situation worse, and adding, we cannot allow this murder to turn communities against one another. We must condemn those who seek personal political profit from tragedy. But they're also noting that a police officer unrelated to the case had to relocate after being misidentified and receiving death threats. Also, others have more directly blamed Farage specifically for all this mayhem, with the Conservative Party leader saying that he sees this as an opportunity to grandstand. Also, you had Prime Minister Starmer arguing,
exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable. It shows exactly who he is.
But for now, we'll have to wait to see what happens with these protests and just the situation at large.